Hello and welcome to another edition of Foreign Dispatches. I'm Layo Olarinde. On the program this week, some Ukrainians are returning home to rebuild their lives and houses. However, they're facing the challenge of no electricity or gas ahead of the winter. Plus, flooding in Thailand affects over 200,000 households in 27 provinces, with the government urged to take long-term plans against the severe situation. Ukrainians are returning to their village after surviving 8 months of Russia's onslaught, and they're facing a huge task to rebuild their heavily damaged homes ahead of the winter. Despite not having electricity or gas, many of them are determined to build back the home they once had.
Ukrainians living in the former frontline village of Qarabakini face a huge task to rebuild their heavily damaged homes ahead of the winter. The village, located 50 kilometers southeast of Kharkiv, shows the scars of almost 8 months of conflict with neighboring Russia. According to local officials, the village was shelled numerous times by the Russian military. Tatiana, a local resident, said that while there was no electricity and gas, she still plans to rebuild her house. Despite the destruction and limitations, people have returned to the village simply because it's their home.
There is no electricity, no gas. It has been this way for a long time. People suffer, but many come back. Why? This is a philosophical question. They come back because it is their native home. They want to see their friends, their parents. That's why we come back. We want to restore everything. We will be able to do that if only our relatives are alive and well.
As workers repair the roof of Tatiana's house, another Qarabakini resident, Olga, watched men clear rubble near her own. An emotional Olga says she had returned to a heavily damaged house only temporarily and would leave again due to safety concerns.
When the war began, our street was the first to get shelled. The first shell fell over there. Everything was in the air here. It was black and fiery. I fell over there under the explosions. Now I am limping. Then the shells started falling over our house. There is destruction over there. 2 shells hit our garage. The barn was destroyed. That's it. We had to leave.
The Ukrainian government has urged citizens to stock up on warm clothes, candles, flashlights and batteries for the winter ahead, given both the ongoing conflict and the international energy crisis. Authorities have also asked people to limit their use of energy-guzzling appliances like ovens, washing machines or kettles during peak consumption times. There are plans to set up mobile heating stations in the streets in case people experience heating outages at home, and authorities have developed evacuation plans in case critical energy facilities are hit.
For over 1 month, Iran has seen numerous brave protests led by women demonstrating against the government following the death of Mahsa Amini, a 22-year-old woman who died in the custody of the country's morality police. Well, women over the world have joined the movement in solidarity with Iranian women. Our next report is from Turkey.
Dozens of Iranians gather near the Islamic Republic's consulate in Istanbul, Turkey, marking the 1-month anniversary of the protest sparked by the death of a 22-year-old woman chanting slogans against the country's clerical rule. Around 100 people filled a narrow street across from the consulate located at the heart of Istanbul's most historic quarter. They were surrounded by police as they chanted the popular slogan, "Women, Life, Freedom."
I want the death of Islamic Republic. Everybody wants that. It's not only about the hijab. It's not only about the women. It's about the regime. We want this regime to be gone.
The United Nations says as many as 23 children have been killed in ongoing mass protests in Iran, with Iran's human rights activist news agency estimating that at least 224 people have been killed.
A month after demonstrations erupted across Iran, the unabated violent response by security forces against protesters and reports of arbitrary arrests and the killing and detention of children are deeply worrying. Some sources suggest that as many as 23 children have been killed and many others injured in at least 7 provinces by live ammunition, metal pellets at close range, and fatal beatings. A number of schools have also been raided and children arrested by security forces.
The UN is now calling for investigations into all alleged violations and to ensure those responsible are prosecuted.
We call on the Iranian authorities to hold prompt, impartial, and independent investigations into all alleged violations, including the killing of children, and to ensure that those responsible are prosecuted. Broadly, we urge the authorities to address the underlying causes of the grievances of the population instead of using violence to suppress the protests. The Islamic Republic has an obligation to protect children's right to life under any circumstances and to respect and protect their rights to freedom of expression and peaceful protest.
For Mikhail Alizadeh, she believes the anti-government protests will lead to the end of Tehran's cruelty. She decided to move to Turkey from Iran in 2015 after receiving threats because she says she is gender fluid, fearing she will be jailed for being a dancer. The 33-year-old, who goes by the stage name Leo, is one of hundreds of Iranians who have attended protests in Turkey.
Sometimes people say that you are abroad, you cannot do anything, but that is not the case. Indeed, people in Iran have become very strong right now, and it's all because of that. Thanks to our protests and support from around the world, thanks to the support of women and men in Turkey, it really gives us strength and hope.
The protest in Iran was sparked after Mahsa Amini, a 22-year-old from Kurdistan province in northwest Iran, died on September 16th in the custody of the Islamic Republic's morality police. She had been detained for violating strict codes requiring women to dress modestly in public. The unrest has turned into one of the boldest challenges to Iran's clerical rulers since the 1979 revolution, with protesters calling for the downfall of the Islamic Republic, even if the protests do not seem close to toppling the system.
Thailand is battling flooding, with many residents seeking urgent help. Although this year's seasonal flooding is less severe than the 2011 natural disaster that left large parts of the country underwater, the government is prepared, saying it has 23 billion baht for assistance and rehabilitation.
Villagers living in central Thailand are appealing to authorities to look into redirecting floodwater towards other provincial areas after facing constant inundation. Macro vendor Ladawan Jitruk, who lives in the Bang Ban district of Ayutthaya province, says she'd been inundated by floods for over a month, and she and her family had been suffering for years.
I want to ask for some sympathy and for those in the dry areas to take some of our burden too. Those of us living in the basin area cannot take it anymore. Please, release the water to other areas too. We can cope with a minor flood where we can still travel around on the roads.
Village headman Natawut Mondopia says affected locals had to travel 3 to 4 kilometers by boat before reaching the nearest highway. Bang Ban is located near a river basin and is prone to flooding every year following seasonal monsoon rain, when excess rainwater flowing downriver from the north of the country is diverted into the area to protect ancient Buddhist temples, ruins and monuments in other parts of the province. Local authorities hand out relief supplies to villagers living in the affected area. Authorities distribute relief packages going from house to house on boats. 37-year-old Pratana Komosad says living in floodwater was difficult, demonstrating how she had to cook while standing in knee-deep water.
I have to wade through water in my own home, cooking, washing clothes. It's also difficult when going out to work. I have to get out via a boat. It would be fine if the houses wasn't flooded, but they say this area is a basin, so this is where all the water flows to. It's very difficult.
While the seasonal floods are deemed less severe than the ones that also hit the province in 2011, the government has prepared 23 billion baht, that's about $607 million, for assistance and rehabilitation. Seizing opportunity from the high tides, a Thai noodle stall situated along the Thachin River in central Nakhon Pathom province is buzzing with constant flow of customers young and old, despite the stall being in knee-deep water. The water does not seem to faze Pajit's chicken noodle stall that sits under a highway bridge and has been open for over 30 years.
I didn't think I would open the shop at first. With the rising water level, who would come to it? But because there were fish and the customers still come to visit, it gave me strength to keep going.
According to the Interior Ministry, 27 provinces in the north, northeast and central parts of Thailand have faced intermittent flooding after Typhoon Noru swept through the Southeast Asian nation last month, impacting 224,687 households and killing 4 people.
Away from Thailand, a new study published in the journal Nature is showing a promising future for an untethered exoskeleton boot that could help improve the lives of people that are suffering from mobility issues. Let's take a look.
This robotic untethered exoskeleton boot, which looks like a stripped-down uncovered version of Iron Man's suit in the Marvel movies, brings together computers, sensors, and motors to assist wearers in walking faster while expending less energy. According to a new study, the boot allows users to walk 9% faster while using 17% less energy. Researchers say the energy saved is roughly equivalent to removing a 30-pound backpack. The goal is to eventually get the boots onto the feet and legs of anyone who needs help moving.
We want to help people to do the things they want to do. And one of the most important aspects of life is mobility. The ability to get from one place to another just under your own power. And many people have disabilities that make that very challenging. And everyone, as they get older, slows down and finds walking more effortful. So we're developing exoskeletons that keep walking easy and fast.
Among those the researchers envisioned the boot potentially helping are people with cerebral palsy, muscular dystrophy, or post-stroke. The boot, built at the Stanford Biomechatronics Laboratory in Stanford, California, features a motor at the back of the calf. The motor tightens a cable and provides the assistance in walking. A sensor located at the back of the heel measures the force applied by the motor. An amplifier just above the ankle reads the sensor. Meanwhile, pressure sensors on the bottom will detect the heel strike and push off. The boot, when worn, provides a spring at one stemp and essentially replaces the work that one's calf muscles typically perform.
So the exoskeleton is essentially a normal shoe with a piece that runs up the length of your calf that has a motor. And this motor winds a cable to help launch you as you're walking. So it helps you push off and actually turn off your calf muscles, which saves you energy and can also help you increase your walking speed.
One of the major achievements stems from the ability to personalize assistant for a person using the boot.
We all walk differently, and we actually need different forms of assistance to see these benefits, so to see this energy reduction. And so we do this by looking at your motion, so your ankle angle, your ankle velocity, and the torque that we're applying to you. And we figure out, by trying out different assistance conditions, what's going to work best for you. And so by doing that, we can provide the best benefits possible for each person.
Through the lab's extensive data collection, researchers developed a model that identifies how efficiently a person walks based on their ankle motion. The model then allows the boot to provide the user with an individualized assistance program to help maximize their efficiency.
We take a break now on Foreign Dispatches. When we come back, one of the world's largest diamonds sparkles at Sotheby's in Dubai, the United Arab Emirates. Please stay with us. Welcome back to the program. Let's head now to California in the US to see robots taking over the French fries production in fast food restaurants. Talk about chips making chips.
French fries are going high-tech thanks to a laboratory in California. Miso Robotics in Pasadena has started rolling out its Flippy 2 robot, which cuts the human out of a big chunk of the cooking process in fast food restaurants. A huge robotic arm, similar to those seen in car plant and manufacturing, powered by cameras and artificial intelligence, does everything from taking frozen French fries, onion rings, and other foods from the freezer, cooks them in oil, then posits them ready for serving. The machine can cook several meals with different recipes simultaneously, removing the need for catering staff and speeds up the process at drive-thrus.
When an order comes in through the restaurant system, it automatically spits out the instructions to Flippy. Takes a frozen product, fries it for the precise amount of time, and puts the finished product in the end. It does it faster, more accurately, more reliably, and happier than most humans do it. So this technology utilizes a whole bunch of computer vision. There's cameras throughout the system, including right here we have these food identification cameras. The cameras not only guide the robot and tell it exactly where it is in space and how to move through this area, but also identifies the food type, and it knows the recipe for each one.
Flippy was in development for 5 years before recently becoming commercially available. It took painstaking effort not just to engineer and code, but to learn the intimacies of the kitchen.
We have to have a really good understanding of the food science in order to make sure the food quality is there, how different food sticks together, how it cooks over time, how the temperature and the heat go into it.
The Flippy name comes from the original machine designed to flip burgers. But once the team at the Miso Robotics had finished that model, they realized from speaking to restaurants that there was way more of bottleneck around the frying station, particularly late at night. As the original Flippy sits in the corner of the room, almost watching the newer model take its glory, a huge fleet of Flippy 2s busily cook hundreds of French fries and onion rings, timed to the second.
When we put a robot into a location, the customers that come up and order, they all take pictures, they take videos, they ask a bunch of questions, and then the second time they come in, they seem not to even notice. It's just very taken for granted.
A big screen shows engineers where Flippy 2 is in operation and lets them watch in real time to help troubleshoot in case of any issues. The robot has been adopted by a number of restaurant chains.
In Libya, for many years, boxing has been prohibited across the country until the February 17 revolution, during which many old laws were revisited. Now it has become an increasingly popular sport, especially among teenagers and women who set up their own club teaching boxing to females. After more than 30 years of being prohibited from boxing during the ruling of former dictator Muammar al-Gaddafi, women in Libya are once again being seen on rings, fighting and practicing the sport. In Tripoli's Gagash Stars Club that opened in 2012, tens of young women are now training in boxing, some even participating in championships. Among them is teenager Sabah Muni Shahidi.
I like to take risks, and I participated in many tournaments with my fellow players. I had a lot of fights and I learned. It is true that at the beginning, I wasn't up to the responsibility, but I was learning more and more with every time.
She says her family supports her in practicing the sport, despite how society can annoy females like her for boxing.
Our society tells girls that it is a shame to do this or that. But on the contrary, when you are athletic, this is good for your health. for your physical strength, and most of all, you would have self-defense if you're, for example, harassed on the streets.
Another female boxer, Heba Salin, said she fought against what people say about girls practicing the sport.
I was criticized by a lot of people because I'm a girl who engages in boxing. They would say, "You're a girl. Aren't you afraid you have a hit on the face?" But I didn't care what people say. I fought against them, and thank God I am blessed and I am all okay.
Boxing was prohibited for many years across Libya until the country's February 17 revolution, when Libyans revolted against Gaddafi in 2011 and many old laws were revisited. The Libyan Boxing Federation was then established, attracting more women to the sport. The world's largest flawless diamond, valued at $15 million, has gone on display at Sotheby's, Dubai. The golden canary pear-shaped yellow diamond weighs 303.10 carats, and according to the Gemological Institute of America, it is the largest flawless diamond in the world.
The large glittering yellow diamond makes its debut in the UAE before kicking off a world tour that'll include stops in Hong Kong, Taipei, and Geneva. Valued at about $15 million, the stone was unveiled at Sotheby's in Dubai on the 17th of October.
Dubai, the rest of the region, the Middle East in general, is a very important market for us. This is the fourth time this year that we've displayed a very important coloured diamond in Dubai.
The Golden Canary diamond is said to be one of the largest cut diamonds in the world, weighing in at about 303.1 carats.
At Sotheby's Dubai, we are unveiling the Golden Canary, which is one of the world's largest cut diamonds, weighing a huge 303 carats. It is also the world's largest flawless diamond ever graded by the Gemological Institute of America. We are unveiling it in Dubai as the first stop on its world tour before it goes to Hong Kong, to Taipei and to Geneva, and then it will be sold at Sotheby's, New York on the 7th of December.
New York City is expected to play host to its auction on December the 7th as part of Sotheby's magnificent jewel sale. Stevens adds that shining the gem in Dubai reflects the importance of this region as a potential market.
So earlier this year we had the 111 carat Earth Star diamond, which is also a brownish colour, and this actually sold to a private collector from the region. So there's obviously a demand for these type of diamonds from collectors here.
The Golden Canary stone is said to have been initially discovered in the Democratic Republic of Congo in the 1980s. A young girl playing in a pile of rubble near her uncle's house spotted the unusual-looking stone, which was then sold to a local diamond dealer. At the same time, the stone in its rough state weighed 890 carats. Since then, the diamond was recut to showcase the full richness and depth of its color, resulting in the pear-shaped diamond on display.
And finally, on the program, two giant pandas that embarked on a long journey from China's Sichuan province have arrived in Qatar. Soraya and Suhail are a gift from China to the World Cup host nation, landing in Doha on Wednesday morning. After a 12.5-hour flight on Tuesday, October 18th, the two giant pandas, Suhail and Turaya, arrived in Qatar on the 19th and were transported to Panda House at Al Khor Park, where they are settling down. Suhail and Turaya, also known as Jingjing and Sihai in Chinese, are the first ever pandas in the Middle East. They will also undergo 21 days of quarantine before the public can meet them.
It's an amazing day for Qatar today and also for China to get pandas here. It is the first time in the Middle East that we're receiving pandas. This is really also the first time after COVID that pandas came again out of China. So it's a very, very special day.
A welcoming ceremony was held at the Al Khor Park for the arrival of the giant pandas, gifted by China to Qatar as a new symbol of the two nations' relations and to mark the much anticipated FIFA World Cup set to kick off from November 20th to December 18.
It's really important as a friendship and a good gesture between the two countries.
China has been giving pandas as gifts to other nations for hundreds of years. One of the first recorded pandas sent to another nation was during the 7th century's Tang dynasty. A pair of bears, thought to be pandas, were sent to Japan. The practice was revived in 1941 when China sent 2 pandas to New York's Bronx Zoo.
Well, this is where we say goodbye until next time. But remember, our top stories are never far away. You can catch them on channelstv.com. Thank you so much for watching the program. I'm Layo Olarinde.